No, it's incorrect. It's acceptable. Yes, the negotiations are in limbo, but the role of the mediator has not been quashed. They are not direct. So when he says that the lines are secure, it means that when we are communicating between both Tehran and Washington, it reflects the trust on the mediator by both sides. So even if they are not direct, they are going to the indirect. The role of mediator will remain the same. The role of the persuade will be same. So that's the problem with the both sides is that it seems that both are having identical characteristic. Neither Trump nor Iranian leadership willing to compromise on their standings or show flexibility so that they shall not be labeled that they caved in or pressurized. They are afraid of their, you can say, people, or you can say they are prisoner of their sin. This is very important. I think that the Strait of Hormuz is the cause of the war, not end of the Strait of Hormuz is the outcome of the war. Sorry, not the cause of the war. So Iranians know it. Iranians told number of times that since 2 decades that we have a capacity to spoil it. They did not spoil in June 2025, so it was not in the calculation of the Americans and Israelis. So they did this time. And they did it in a manner keeping in mind that there has been completely changed naval warfare. The character of the war has been changed. If the character of the war has changed and the naval warfare has changed in a manner, today big ships, big warships, big aircraft carriers, they are liabilities, I can say, especially in any kind of the sea war, because sea war is predictable. You cannot you can go for a concealed sea strikes. So when the ships moves, when all these things, and it has been proven in the Black Sea, Ukrainians checkmated the Russian big naval power. So same happened here. So they failed to. The problem with the you can say American makers of the strategy is that they understand that they have advantage of firepower, they have advantage of technology, but they fail to realize that they have a disadvantage in an asymmetrical warfare where you have a kamikaze boats. So that's why Iranians were spoiled or blockaded, and then they opened on the advice of the Field Marshal Asim Munir when he was there. Now Trump went after failure of their direct strategy or a kinetic strategy, he went for an indirect strategy and he tried to block it. Yes, in this case, he is succeeding in bleeding the Iran by, you can say, inflicting pain by closing their, or you can say, their economic shipping or everything. But he fails, but he has to realize that this strategy is not only hurting the Iran, but it is also disturbing the entire world. In Americans allies, Arab allies, Americans allies in Southeast Asia, Americans allies in Europe. So for how long Trump will bear this, you can say, criticism from his allies? So that's why my understanding is that the moment there is a this ceasefire transform into a permanent ceasefire, Strait of Hormuz will open. But of course, as you very rightly pointed out, again, President Trump is same at a ground zero from where he started, JCPOA. He said it was a bad deal. He exited, and again he's negotiating a similar kind of a deal with the Iranians. What is his demand? His State Secretary of Defense is saying nuclear program, civil military nuclear program. Iran is saying I'm not ready to make the nuclear weapons. But your point is hardliners. Yes, hardliners have a say. They are revenging in Iran. I think that Iranians are in a bad shape economically, you can say in this condition, but not strategically. They have faced the 39 days excessive bombing and survived, and they have still stamina to bear the pain, pain of the war. Now it's a war of the nerves which they are fighting, and they have advantage. Advantage is that their supreme leader was decapitated in a manner that his blood became a, you can say, strengthening their strategic culture. So the blood of the martyrs they are now using and hardliners in the vacuum are there. And Americans lacks the courage of sending the troops. So till the Iranians know the troops are not coming on the ground, maybe they bear the burden. And secondly, now they are on a diplomatic move. If you see Chinese are with them, Russians are with them, uh, two neighbors are with them, Pakistan and the other Omanis. I think the Americans have to give it time on the negotiations, and Iranians are willing to be in the nuclear negotiations. So this is the you can say where Iranians are ready for 5 years, maybe extend up to 10 years, but you have to come on the table. This is important. I think Iranians are used to bear the burden of the sanctions, but they are not used to like this kind of a complete close down. But there, you have to keep in mind the Iranians' geography. On one side, from Shat al Arab till Strait of Hormuz. On the other side, there are land routes. So you cannot deny them or care. You can just think it's not a state which has been completely locked in the modern time. Second point is yes, it is a inflicting for them, but Trump thinks that this strategy will work. But did the sanctions work earlier? So this is a question. But I and my understanding is that this non-kinetic approach of the President Trump is definitely hurting the Iranians with the passage of time. I think both happened. Deepen the GCC, and it has been exposed. UAE is no more in the GCC, especially in the case of OPEC, and it has also indicated or strengthened I2U2, United States, United Arab Emirates, India, and Israel. Now, India is failing to play any decisive role, but in a triangular manner, it has been strengthened. So we have to wait and see how the fourth tier of the ITU2 is going to be active. But of course, the Arab world has divided, and Americans are very much agitated because they were expecting the Saudis, the others, they will be going to attack on Iran, but they did not. So Arabs' refrain it was not in the calculation of the Americans because they were thinking the moment Iran attack on their bases located in the Saudi Arabia XYZ, immediately you will see all the fighter jets which they purchased from the United States, they will be in the air, they would be in the air striking Iran. But we did not see any Arab fighter jet in the air. They only were defending themselves. And that's the question which is frustrating for the Americans. And again, drifting them towards more Israel. But it is also limiting the Israel in a great, when we look about the greater Israel, without the unified Arab support, it cannot make. I think it will be not weaken, it will increase the Saudis' role in the OPEC. Because when they were sitting on the same table, and if the UAE was inside this, they were more maneuvering in the OPEC. So that's why when they exit from the OPEC, they are no more there. They have no more vote. They are not sitting there. That's why I always said that when our leadership was joining this peace accord or whatever on Gaza, many people were debating why we join it. The answer was that even if we cannot get anything, if we are sitting on the table, we can at least raise the voice. So UAE had exited from the OPEC, but you have to also keep in mind, in a UAE, a few states don't have oil. Only Abu Dhabi has oil. So which kind of the oil? How much it has? In this setup of the Gulf, in the gas, Qatar, Iran. In the oil, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Qatar. So I think that UAE is going to bite a bigger pie, but it will be not. I think that if Iranians come on the table and they are not shy and they are saying that we don't have a nuclear weapons program, they have a fatwas, but questionable thing is then why did they go for a 60% enrichment? Why they didn't limit themselves to 19.75% enrichment or keep their nuclear enrichment at the low enriched level? Why they crossed the threshold entering into the high enriched uranium. So what was the design? There is a big debate over it. But now at the moment, Iranians are willing to compromise. And their compromise is that they limit themselves within the, you can say, low enriched uranium, and you can make on it a lot of IEA safeguards or these kind of things. Second point is the era of nuclear non-proliferation regime, which was very much pivoted on the NPT, nuclear NPT review conference has already started day before yesterday. That era is over or fading away. Era of an arms control is no more there. We are back to state-on-state wars. Nuclear armed state with the big military muscles, they are now blackmailing or threatening to use the nuclear weapons against the non-nuclear, conventionally inferior or disadvantaged states. Always you have seen Putin is going to using the threat of nuclear use against Ukraine, smaller party. Israel did this. Israel and US did the same thing with the Iran. Modi did with Pakistan. It's another thing that he was knocked out conventionally by Pakistan. But he was thinking numerically, still India has a bigger armed forces. So by this way, we are in a different era. There are nuclear flashpoints. There are nuclear armed states. There are later nuclear weapon states. It's an era which I call it fourth nuclear age. Of course, the West is still stuck, or Western scholars are still saying third nuclear age because they are searching some kind of a landmark from where they say we enter into the fourth nuclear age, but they are failing to realize India, Pakistan, first time in 2019 and again 2025, it was first time two nuclear armed states had an air combat, and one nuclear armed state, because of this air combat, chicken out and he was moved out and requested the third party for a peace. Though we did not use nuclear weapons. Second, it's an era in which a conventionally superior nuclear armed state is, you can threatening the non-nuclear armed state, which is conventionally weak. And the third, first time since February 2026, we don't have a nuclear arms control, bilateral nuclear arms control treaty, which was continuity of from the detente or starting of the nuclear, practically nuclear era, nuclear non-proliferation regime. So by this way, we are in a fourth nuclear age with a different dynamics. Interestingly, because these dynamics are now negotiated, these dynamics are originated in the non-Western countries, and that's why Western scholarship is still talking about third nuclear age. But this is fourth nuclear age in which we have entirely different, and they are negotiating with Iran. This they have to keep in mind. The dynamical forces of this age will be going to determine the future, you can say, destiny of the Iranians' nuclear program. My understanding is it's a both way. Our analysis is based on that is unpopular. Polls are there, 33% popularity. This war maybe have some impact, but Americans normally vote for local issues. All democracies or constituency democracies are localized. Yes, gas prices from $2 to $4, it is pinching, it may. But there are no body bags. Till the time Americans will not receive a body bags, war will be not going to affect their decision making in the election. There are only 15 body bags. This is a reality. People vote for their local issues. Yes, in the coming 1 or 2 months, inflation go high, which will be not. America is oil producing. And they can spin military industrial complex, money will be thrown in. Oil industry, now America is oil exporting country. With the destroying the Gulf oil market, you are going to establish your oil market. It's a different spin. If he is able to give these two spins there, I think they will be not affecting. Yes, the Americans may check the Trump in the midterm elections because of his domestic policies. So there it can be a one additional, you can say addition. But my understanding is the people who are thinking that Iran war is going to change, he's in a war, he's showing American power, he's there, he's asking them, due to his narrative is, Americans are asking for, You can know Iranians are begging for this. It's another thing. So it's you people, the media people will be going to house spin it. But practically, my understanding is till the time body bags are not going to the US, American people are thinking differently about the war. It's very important. During the war, or a state which has a unsettled borders, there the role of military advisors become more stronger. And especially in the war, who are performing? ICJ, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. So how you deny them? And secondly, they are part of their system. Here it's very different. In the Western world, they look armed forces differently, democratic institution differently. In a case of a political system in which you have seen Iran, they are integrated in the system. In my country, if you see, we have a two unsettled borders. So my armed forces need to be part of the decision making. Who are leading this war? Who are advisors? Pentagon. So that's why in a war or in a, you can say, complex, ambiguous, volatile strategic environment, if you think that the armed forces or the chief of the armed forces or ICJ or armed forces of Pakistani field marshal, they don't have a say, I think then we have to revisit our analysis. My understanding is both are now, they have tasted the war, 39 days. They don't have a appetite to go for a war. Both have no appetite. If you think the Americans, they don't have appetite because next step is boots on the ground. If you say Iranians, their only objective is neither defeat nor you can say victory, only survive. So they survive, but they know America is a big power and they can do a carpet bombing, and they did it. So in this context, I think both are sitting with their guns who will blink first. But both are blinking. That's why they are in the negotiations. That's why they were in Islamabad. That's why they moved on. But it's a way that basically both sides leadership is now prepared to have a direct talks to move out. But the way they have, and in this era, they do not want it to be labeled who was chicken out or who will be chicken out. I think in this context, Iranians are more under pressure because their leadership was decapitated. They are using the nationalism. Whenever you use the nationalism for any cause, and then you show flexibility on that cause, you are a victim of that nationalism. That is the problem. They have no influence. They have no influence. Egypt is not well respected in Iran. They have a channel of communication with Israel. This, you can say, Oman, yes, they are respected. They were part of the negotiations. I have a doubt how the Americans look at it. Americans will be, you can say, very much disappointed when the Omani foreign minister said that on 27th there was a breakthrough. We were on a positive trajectory. So how they will play a role. And secondly, in the last phase of the talks, during the talks when they were mediating, attack happened. So I think still there is a sole mediator between Iran and United States, and that is Pakistan. But it's a good way, Pakistani leadership, they engage Saudis, Egyptians, Turkey, they also engage the Omanis, they engage the Chinese, because they are the regions, all are stakeholders. So we have engaged them, but I think still there's only one person or two person, like my favorite field marshal for Trump, who is also welcome in the Tehran, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, who is always in touch on a telephone with the president of Iran, as well as with the Trump administration high-ups or president. So I think there is only this Pakistan is the sole mediator. Of course, you can expand it more. And these current status will continue with the Pakistan. I think the trigger for escalation is one step in the wrong direction could lead to that. But we have seen Iranians and the Americans, they know what is the war and they are very mature in it. Americans have a potential to escalate and de escalate. Iranians don't have a potential to escalate or from there to de-escalate. So Iranians will be only going for a asymmetrical warfare horizon, and you can say expanding the horizon of the asymmetrical warfare. That is the only striking here and there. Only advantage to the Iran is that this blockade is not only pinching the Iran, but they are going to melt down the entire world economy. So they will not have a potential to trigger, and neither they can do. Americans have it. Now, this is first point. But the positive side is no. But of course, for us, it's a negative. Prolonging this blockade is not in the interest of the United States allies. I'm saying America can bear this burden. Its allies cannot. But here is an irony. Trump is not happy with this ally, as I said in the beginning, with the Arab allies. So let's say if they are not with me, let them to. So it's just like either with us or with them. Or Europeans, they did not support him in the war. Let them to face the music. Southeast Asians, they were debating different, like Japanese and others. They did not support him in the war. Okay, enjoy yourself the burden of the blockade. So that could be the mindset of the President Trump. So me or the other analysts or like you people are making a rational calculation that, okay, United States and allies, United States is a big power, its allies are suffering, but you have to keep in mind in a real politique, big power always watches interest. The smaller powers go for bandwagoning. Big power cannot influence by their likeness or dislikeness. So this is situation. That's why I think all cards are with the hands of the Trump, in the hands of the Trump, sorry.